Oh, yes. It is Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night, December 13th. The last card of the year is Saturday, December 17th. I think you guys know what that means. It means it's time for the last Just the Tip of the year. And of course, it's going to be with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. Just got back from a concert. I'm ready to break down all 14 fights that we have on the UFC Vegas 66 card from a tape study and a statistical perspective. I'm going to give you the track bets that I've already got so far on this card at the end of the show. And we're going to finish like we always do one more time this year with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Last week, I gave you a plus money ass shaving. And what did that guy do? Let me ask you something, because it's not often I get to do this, you know, so I'm gonna take my little victory lap here. How about a plus money ass shaving? Getting a second round knockout. And not only that, I believe he was the only underdog besides Jared Gordon to win their fight on Saturday. So, I mean, that was I'm not gonna break my arm patting myself on the back, you guys, but I'll take it, man, because I didn't like a lot of the favorites. Funny enough, they all got the job done, but I did like Chris Curtis in that spot. I took a shot on him. He got the job done in the second round. Great boxer, great defense. Chris Curtis, the action man, doing what he always does for us gamblers every damn time in the UFC, with the exception of the Jack Hermanson fight, and that's cashing bets. So shout out to Chris Curtis. Great performance as Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. We finished up over 3 units last Saturday. We had, just a disastrous main event and co-main event where the Nevada Boxing Commission got in there. The Nevada State Athletic Commission got in there with corrupt judges and did what the UFC needed them to do in order to have a little bit more money coming their way in the future. They had to pretend like Paddy Pimblett is a decent fighter, which he isn't. And they had to pretend that Magomed Ankalaev didn't win that fight against Jan Blachowicz, which he did. So, and it's a shame, because what makes the UFC so great is that it's not pro wrestling. You know, it's that we get the entertainment from two well-matched athletes fighting each other and using all of the mixed martial arts that they have at their disposal. And the reason we become fans of these fighters is because they go out there and win for real. You know, they're not winning with a DDT. They're not jumping off the third rope with a flying elbow. You know, they're going out there and they're using all those skills that they learned in the gym from the time that they were kids at their very first martial art, to blending all the martial arts that they've learned, going in there and risking their well-being and their health to fight to be the best. And then you have people like the Nevada State Athletic Commission going out there and sending judges who are, they have no skin in the game. And I'd like to make a proposition that if you've ever judged a boxing fight, that you shouldn't be ever allowed anywhere near a mixed martial arts fight, because they're two completely different sports, and the scoring of one sport has nothing to do with how the other sport is scored. Other than a 10-9 system, everything else is different in terms of how the fights are scored. And we got to get these fucking boxing judges out of mixed martial arts, because they don't belong there. You know, boxing is checkers, mixed martial arts is chess. And it's nothing against boxers. Boxing is a great sport. It's the sweet science. But a good mixed martial artist beats a good boxer 10 times out of 10. You take them down and you beat them the fuck up, because it's not in their rule set. And that's why mixed martial arts is the most compelling sport in the world. So we don't get to play make-believe. We don't get to pretend that Paddy Pimblett's a good fighter. We don't get to pretend that he beat Jared Gordon because it's better for Endeavor Corporation and they get to keep putting him on main cards and pretend that he's a decent fighter. It doesn't work that way. So it was just really sickening to see the UFC, now that they're corporate, you know, now that it's all about the profits, now that you got the scumbag Emmanuel brothers involved with it, you know, it's going to bring out this kind of shady fucking garbage, and they're going to do it out there in wide open, and just they're just going to throw it in our faces. like they did Saturday night. There's no other way to describe what happened Saturday night than they're just going to throw it in our faces that the people that are going to win the fights are the ones that they want winning the fights. And if it's not good for corporate profits for one of the two guys that you have fighting for their lives for 5 rounds for the 205-pound belt, if they're not marketable for the organization, you could just call it a draw and pretend like the fight never happened, and then announce the very same night, mind you, less than an hour after these guys go limping out of the cage after beating each other's asses for 5 rounds, that you're going to have a title fight between Glover Teixeira and Jamal Hill now, because you fixed the fight and you made it a draw. So, yeah, I'm pissed off, you guys. I'm really pissed off. I hate to see this become, something that's more about corporate profits than it is about finding out who the best fighters are. And if you're a gambler like me, don't overthink the Paddy Pimblett fight. You can't overthink it in terms of, they really are judging for damage now. Because make no mistake, if Paddy Pimblett had held Jared Gordon up against the cage for 3 full rounds, like Jared Gordon held Paddy Pimblett up against the cage in the 3rd round, it would have been 10-8 all 3 rounds for Paddy Pimblett because Paddy was supposed to win the fight. It had nothing to do with who the best fighter was. It had nothing to do with it being scored for damage. It had nothing to do with any of that. It was a fixed fight, plain and simple. Dana White, the president of the organization, is going on Paddy Pimblett's podcast the week of the fights, and then Paddy loses all 3 rounds, and he gets 29-28 on all 3 cards. And I mean, frankly, if you scored round 1, 10-9 for Paddy Pimblett, you should be banned from judging this sport for the rest of your life because it's not just incompetence. It's not incompetence. That's what I keep trying to tell people. I hate it when people say, God, these politicians, they're so fucking stupid. Can you believe that they did something so stupid? Yeah, believe it. They're not stupid. They didn't fucking get to be senator because they're fucking dumb. They're senator because they're corrupt. They're senator because it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to run for office. And chances are people aren't going to pay you, to run your campaign and boost you up and spend all this money so that you can go and give the power back to the people and cut taxes and not make rules for the wankers, for the 1% that runs the world. It's just not how life works. That's why we did life lessons with Uncle Weezy at the beginning of Stat Diggers this week. So we could talk about corruption. So we could talk about how the little guy never gets away with anything. But when the big guy wants to fix a fight, it's not a big fucking deal. And we're going to say that it was scored on damage. So it's really unfortunate what happened. My heart goes out to Magomed Ankalaev. My heart goes out to Jared Gordon. Those guys fought real fights. They won their fights, and they didn't get what they deserved, which was a win bonus. In Magomed Ankalaev's case, a belt. In Jared Gordon's case, a chance to get on the mic on a pay-per-view as the co-main event and show his personality and tell some of his story to the people that have gotten him to this point. What a rough night for Jared. What a rough night for Magomed. And what a rough night to be a UFC fan that cares more about seeing the best man win than you do about the hype job getting a spoon-fed of victory. It was just absolutely disgusting. But we've only got one more week, and then we get to take a break from this corruption for a month, sit back, reevaluate our lives, figure out if we want to do this shit for another year. But I know I'll be back, you guys. I'm a degenerate gambler, and I love giving you guys content on the UFC, and I truly appreciate everybody that hangs out, watches me, hits that big up button, hits that subscribe button, joins the Patreon. I appreciate you guys giving a shit about the content and giving me the opportunity to share my views with you every week about the UFC. So thank all of you guys that are hanging out here. I want to see what's going on in the chat right now. And how many, we got 41 of you guys hanging out with us, even though we're way later than we normally would be because I had to go to a concert. Well, I didn't have to go to a concert. I wanted to go to a concert tonight. Got to see a band called Slow Pulp. They are a Chicago band over at Lincoln Hall. I still got the wristband. I didn't even take that off yet. I've got a Paloma here, and I'm ready to break down some fights with you guys. So let's talk about it. First one in the room, my guy Daz Files, saying, didn't know the Grateful Dead still touring. That's 4 p.m. Newtown Central. Let's go. Last card. Bob Spikerman saying, let's go, Weezy. Good times. And he says, hope you get a blessing from Morozov. Fight doesn't go to decision. Kape inside the distance. Battle. Saidyokub. Marquez inside the distance. Green decision. Ismagulov at plus 185. Strickland decision, maybe. But can't really trust Strickland after the Poatan fight. Yeah, Strickland's got no fight IQ at all, but he is a scrapper. Bob Spikerman saying non-greasy parlays. Albazi Matthews. Brundage fight doesn't go to decision. Ismagulov over 1.5. Bobby Green over. Magomed Khalidov fight doesn't go to decision from KSW. Zero grease here, but hoping they will cash. Nice. We got M.A. Laren saying, oi, good times, bad times. You know I've had my share. Maybe time to prioritize overs, time props to money lines for potential decisions because, damn, Ankalaev win should have been my retirement. Yeah, that is a good thing to do. But you know, refs are going to fix fights too. Refs are going to fix fights. Judges are going to fix fights. And sometimes fighters are going to be in on it too, and coaches. So, yeah, I mean, this is part of what we deal with. But like I say, don't go out there thinking that, like, all of a sudden judging is all about damage now. Like I said, if Patty would have done no damage and just hugged them for 3 rounds, he would have won the fight that way. It had nothing to do with damage. It was a corrupt criminal decision. M.A. Laren saying, yeah, here we go. Back at it within shape for the Czech flapjack revenge. Let's stack them up like bad MMA judge scorecards all the way up the damn Christmas tree with the commission hanging on top. I couldn't agree more. Preparing coffee, pen, and paper for Sancta Clausy, list of good and naughty, those being bets that make us money. Who cares about the rest? Thank you so very much for your tremendous work this year. Thank you so much for hanging out with me all year, M.A. Lawrence, for contributing to the show. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. Jazz is up in the room saying, oi, time to cash him one last time. One of the best Apex cards of the year to beat. Doug Crosby, get some help. He doesn't need help, man. Doug Crosby's like fucking a pile of models right now on top of a bag of cash. The cash that he got paid to pretend like Paddy Pimblett won that fight. He doesn't need help. He's got plenty of money, and he's got plenty of people feeding him bags of cash on the regular to give his shitty scorecards. DJ saying, oi, what's up, Weezy? Hope you get to enjoy the break. Let's get one last heist in and fill the pockets up with fat profits. We got Jay Stanford saying, oi, oi, oi. Weezy in town for gassing greasy legs this weekend. Let's go. Let's go, Jay. Dom Laverne saying, first time here live. I'm a student at University of Ottawa in Canada, and I'm studying for a stats exam in the morning. Got to have Uncle Weezy synthesizing stats on in the background. You're a stud, brother. I appreciate you, Dom. I've been through my share of statistics exams in my life. I've got a degree in statistics from the Harvard of the Midwest, Northern Illinois University. Go Huskies. And stats is a fantastic area of expertise to have in this life. Data tells so many stories, and we can make decisions and predict the future if we have the right data and the right methods. And math is one of the few things that has not been tainted in our universities, because math has to work in order for the world to go around. You can't lie to engineers about, a formula having a proof that works, because math has to work. If it doesn't, buildings fall, bridges fall, planes crash. Bad things happen if we don't have a good handle on math. And math is truth. And we get so little truth in the education system today. So keep hitting those statistics books hard, Dom. You can't find a better area of study. Jenna Marie is in the room saying, I'm probably going to be asleep when this starts, but oi, Weezy, like and subscribe. Love you, Jenna. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Always good to see you. Well, with all the usual suspects, with all the shows that we all watch, we always see Jenna in there supporting. The Cuban Assassin is saying, Dev, what's up, Cuban Assassin? Good to see you in here, man. Papa Chuck saying, Unc, since you love math and probabilities, do you like to play roulette or any other gambling table games? No, not really, man. I mean, I played a little blackjack. I played a little roulette, but, those are games that have, losing, long-term losing edges to them. So, it's nothing more than something that I would pass a little bit of time with. I played a lot of poker That's a good game if you have some probability skills. If you understand combinations and permutations, you can definitely have a little bit of an edge in poker, and it's a good game. But yeah, definitely just poker. I kind of like to know I'm getting even a little bit of an edge. Martin Durmov saying, "Oi, plus 60 units last week. Nevada State Athletic Commission owes me $10,000 from robbing Ankalaev, but I guess it's okay since I won money on Patty." Oh, yeah, what a shit show last weekend was. Well, at least you got the money on Patty, because then, I mean, like, can you imagine, like, me having the fourth leg of your greasy parlay beat Magomed Ankalaev, and then before that having a full unit at plus 500 on Jared Gordon by decision, and then you get that taken away from you. I mean, like, the Jared Gordon getting robbed of the decision cost me 6 units because I lost 1 instead of winning 5. And then last week, Dan Miragliotta getting drunk in the cage and not knowing, when a guy is spurting blood that you stop the fight. He cost me 5, 6. It was a 7.4 unit swing. No, it would have been a 6.4 unit swing. But yeah, 1.15 units lost and 0.25 units lost. So, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, these pricks have cost me 13 units over the last 2 weeks. Unbelievable. And we got Jester in the room saying, anyone going to tail this parlay with me? Kape by KO, Matthews by finish. Well, we'll have to see, man. And we got ring-a-ding-ding, my guy Martin Durnov in here with a $19.99 donation saying, once again, thanks for all the hard work you put in for us. Plus 82 units in December, beating the bookies with a bag of bricks. Let's keep this momentum going all the way through 2023. Last event of the year. Stack them high, my guys. Thank you for the donation, Martin. And I mean, like, an 82 unit year is a fantastic year. To get that in 1 month is bananas. And I know that I've been as hot as I've ever been since I started tracking bets this December, these last 4 weeks. And even though I've had 12 units stolen from me by corruption, I'm still up, I think, like 16 units without the 12 units that they took from me. So that's 28 units for me. It would have been if I had a little bit of luck. But man, that is an amazing year, and you've done it in a month, Martin. So thank you so much for the donation, man. And my guy Victor De Jesus is in the room saying, "Oi, yes, what's up, Weezy in chat? Let's finish the year strong." We got Alan saying, "You guys think it's possible to make $200? Trying to make a goal for the year?" Yeah, it's definitely possible to make $200. I mean, even if you have $1 in your account, you can win a $1 DraftKings tournament and win a couple $100. So it's wild, man. This is always something. There's always a hope with gambling, but chances are, over the long term, most people get rinsed. Evening, gentlemen, last tip of the year. And on that note, Cheyanne has had so much Georgian in her. She's multiracial and bilingual now. Merry Vlismas, everyone. My guy Dan Goldstein in the room, always bringing the comedy. Dan, good to see you in here, brother. I'm looking forward to talking about that Vlismas McKenna fight. That's going to be a fun one. And let me see here. We got oh God, man. And Alan saying, you got 294 in your account, trying to end at 500. Don't do that, man. Don't make goals for one event. Just pick the spots that work for each event, Alan, and don't set individual goals, because when you set that individual goal for only one event, what you do is you're more likely to make bad bets trying to reach that goal, putting more risk on the table than you normally would if you were just looking for the spots that you think you have an advantage. So my advice would be, Alan, just make the bets that you would normally make without having any kind of goal of how much money you want to make. Just make the bets that you want to make that makes sense. Dan Goldstein here. We got Dave Bandit saying, and good morning here. What's up, Dave? Good to see you hanging out in here, brother. I know that you're over there in Poland, so that you're now going to be, with it being an hour later, you probably actually get to watch the show instead of still being sleeping over there. But appreciate you hanging out, man. Best pick in the chat, Nathan Robinson saying, "Oi, what's up, Kim Winslow?" We got Shadow saying, this card's got a couple of good spots. All of them have a couple of good spots. We got to find them, Shadow. We got Cory Mann saying, oi. We got Jarno saying, hell yeah, let's crush the bookies and leave them bleeding for a month. Let's do it. Jester saying, not liking any dogs this week, honestly. Jester saying, tell us the concert, Weezy. The band was called Slow Pulp. They are from Madison, Wisconsin originally. Now they live in Chicago. It was a happy accident that I found out about them. I went to see a band called Post Animal back in 2018 or 2019, and they had a couple bands opening up for them. One of them was Slow Pulp from Madison, Wisconsin. One of them was a local band here called Rookie. Great show. Wound up becoming a fan of Rookie and Slow Pulp, even though I hadn't even heard of them prior to seeing them open up for Post Animal. And that's one of the great things about going to see indie rock bands in Chicago is that you're going to see opening acts that you would not, when I was first started going to shows, the opening act always sucked. Now, like, the opening acts are sometimes better than the main act because they're up and coming, they're hungry, and there's a lot of good music in this city. So really a great show. Ass was shaved, says Charlton Miles. Yes, sir. We got our guy, Chris Curtis, the action man, definitely got the job done. Fender Jazz saying, evening, Weezy. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Shadow saying, Chris Curtis is my most confident pick of the night and at plus money. That made two of us, Shadow. Love that one. SD Crusader saying, Curtis got it done for me, but Morano blew it. Ponzi set up the same punch like a dozen times. Don't know how you get caught there. Maybe it was the short notice. Maybe he was just a little bit tired coming in on short notice. But, man, Ponzi hit him hard. I think he broke his jaw, man. It was nasty. Charlton Miles saying, I hit a 9-leg parlay thanks to Weezy. Dude, Charlton, way to go, man. Love hearing that. Nate Robinson saying, got Marquez win under 2.5 at plus 125. I know you don't mind the value on the over, but I got value on the under, hoping Marquez shaves ass. Well, Marquez, 100% of his wins are inside the distance. So, I mean, the guy is a finisher, so there's nothing wrong with making that bet, Nate. 4 greasy leg parlay hits again. Yes, it did. The greasy parlay 4-legger was turned into a 3-legger. I mean, all 4 legs hit, but one of them was considered a draw due to corruption. Just quick info. Doug Crosby, the judge from the Bellator and Patty fight, is under investigation. I mean, it's kind of funny, It's like seeing somebody in the street put a gun up to another man's head, blow the dude's head off in front of 50 people, and then have somebody say, like 6 months later, like, look, that dude that blew the guy's head, we're going to investigate him. We think that there's something shady here. I mean, like, dude, investigated for what? He should have been investigated 15 fucking years ago when he started fucking up other people's lives with his horseshit decisions. I mean, now we're fucking investigating Doug Crosby like he hasn't been corrupt the entire fucking time. Come on. It's ridiculous. Dan Goldstein saying Patty versus one guy I know who wants big money. Let's end this fight. Funny-haired experiment now and give big money Moicano that shine. Yeah, dude, they're not going to feed. Dude, Moicano would fucking... Dude, he would teabag Patty Pimblett. I mean, they're not in the same... Those two guys are not... One's a real fighter, and one's a guy with a Children of the Corn haircut who's barely intelligible, who's got a big fucking fan base for some reason. They can't give him... They've got to go back to giving him Jordan Levitt and Luigi Vendramini's types. This guy tried to get a top 30 fighter here, and the top 30 fighter fucking 10-8'd him in the first and won every round. So, I mean, I don't know where you go now with Patty. Maybe they can have him fight Molly McCann. That'd be a fair fight. Nathan Robinson saying, got my first sweep last week, assuming we aren't counting the draw. Should not have gotten a sweep because of Patty, but I'll take it. Yeah, the Patty, yeah, you shouldn't have. But whenever you get one in this sport, whenever you sweep a card, you chalk it up and you say thank you. We should just send all the judges to a shallow hole in Nevada. Sal D'Amato digs the first one. Yes. Patty is literally so fucking shit. Yeah, I mean, like, complete garbage. The rig meta is alive. Yes, absolutely shameless. I knew after the Peter Yan fight, this kind of shit would happen. It was the beginning of the end. Yeah, that was another one. But even that, you could make a case that Sean O'Malley actually won that fight on damage. You can make that case, you know. There's no way you can make a case that Paddy Pimblett landed the more damaging shots in that fight. Anybody that says that is just lying to themselves. It's like a fan of a team, you know. It's you know, my husband will stop beating me. I can tell that he loves me. He beats me every night, but I can tell that he deep down, he loves me. You know, like those are the people who are going, Paddy won that on damage. You know, it's bullshit. It's completely bullshit. Have I seen the odds on the Glover Hill fight? I think I like Glover, but he's took some damage in the Jiri fight. That's got a factor. Yeah, I would be max betting Glover Teixeira in this spot because nobody has tested Jamal Hill's grappling. And, you know, Teixeira destroys high-level grapplers, and Jamal Hill's not a high-level grappler. So, and Glover's got good boxing too. So, I really like Glover in that fight, but man, is it hard to back a 40-year-old guy against somebody as dynamic and explosive and powerful as Hill, because Hill is something else, dude. Martin Durmov saying winning money on Paddy was just God's way of paying me back from betting on Peter Yan versus O'Malley and Sterling. Yeah, I hear you, man. Who is that against Tuxedo Pacino? That is my guy Biz Marquis. The Biz never sleeps. He is with us when we're sleeping. He's with us when we're awake. The rumors of his death are greatly exaggerated. That man never slept once. One of the best DJs on planet Earth and a very, very underrated singer. That's who's against Tuxedo Pacino. What a rough night to be an MMA handicapper. Well, I mean, I made money. It was just rough, you know. Political cum guzzling, yes, on that truth. Oh God, God, no, I don't want Roman Dolidze to come looking for me. Uncle Weezy dropping science on the truths of man. No, it's all true. Unfortunately, my guy Chris knows all about that, man. Dave Bandit saying they were never about to give a title on that night. They just needed a title fight to justify the pay-per-view price. Thank you. That's absolutely perfect, Dave. You're absolutely right about that. And then we got my guy Tone. What's up, Tone? I think you just joined the Patreon. I appreciate you. And if you guys haven't joined the Patreon, join the Patreon. But I appreciate you, Tone, saying, D-Gen Daddy, what's up, dude? Good to have you in here. Jester saying, Weezy buzzing. Same, brother. Yeah, man. Strickland's got the footwork of a paraplegic. That's an insult to paraplegics and quadriplegics everywhere. Doug Crosby and Kim Winslow. Oh, man. And yeah, so we got Chaz Bono's manly beard saying, oi, my ass is bleeding from last week. Patty and Ankle Live. I'm sorry, brother, man. That's just rough. What it do, Weezy? Patty Sucksworth and Keith Peterson's tattoos and Kim Winslow's OnlyFans. What racket with the judging? Yeah, I mean, complete racket. You know, everybody knows that these guys are a joke. And, you know, and that's one of the problems, you guys, you know, because these are mixed martial arts fans. You can't just go out there and tell them, yeah, Paddy Pimblett beat Jared Gordon, because they're going to be like, no, he didn't. And the fact that you wanted him to win that much, that you would actually pretend that this sport is fair, but you'd come up with a scorecard for Paddy Pimblett there, it just goes to show you that it didn't happen. It never did. And now this guy is going to be hated by more people than he's liked, because the fact that, you know, it's like the coach's son being the starter when everybody knows he sucks, but he's out there, he's batting cleanup, you know, because dad believes in him, you know, and he didn't coach his team to bat his son last. And that's what this is like. It's like they're putting Paddy Pimblett cleanup. They're pretending that he's got a chance to beat anybody that's not a bottom 10, 15% of the lightweight division here. And that's just the case. And now, you know, this guy is going to be known as, you know, Paddy the fraud. And he is a fraud. I mean, the fact that he actually said that he thought he won this fight and he wanted fight of the night just makes him even less likable. And now you've just killed your star. You know, I mean, you could have you could have went back to feeding this guy bums in front of English audiences and sold out the crowds, and nobody would have ever had to know that he can't fight his way out of a paper bag, man. Thanks for all the picks. Curtis finish was only same as money line. Yeah. DDP submission prop was crazy. Hit round 3 sub for plus 2,800. Someone should be fired for those lines, man. That's something else, man. Justice for JP. Come on, you guys. Roman just guys. Everybody's got Roman Dolidze jokes, man. What the hell is up with you guys? It's like I'm at the funny firm tonight. My guy Mushroom in the room saying, Uncle Weezy, thought on my YouTube debut on Lou Betya's props to consider and maybe bet. Dude, is that happening this week? Are you telling me you're going to be on Lou Betya's show? I'm talking with Lou tomorrow because we're going to be interviewing Cody Brundage on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. But I'm looking forward to it, Mushroom. It's about goddamn time, dude. It's about time. Martin Durmov saying, do you remember Murgliata letting Pulev beat the living shit out of Frank Mir in that triad combat fight? Dude is a terrible ref. Yeah, he is. He's a terrible ref. Combinations and provocations should be the name of Weezy's own show. Combinations and permutations, but you change the provocations for permutations. I love it, dude. Perfect stuff, man. Strickland's going to beat the F out of Cannonier. Thanks, Doug, for letting Patty ticket, but you belong in jail. Yeah, man, you do. Mushroom will be trying to make that live show. Hell yeah, man. That'll be awesome. Yeah. Yep. That's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see Mushroom. I need Uncle Weezy 2 gamer. I will lay 130. I love it, man. Love the fit, Weezy. Fucking swag king. Appreciate you, man. Looking, you guys, I got to get to breaking down these fights because we're already 32 minutes in. Yeah. I mean, like Magomed, yeah, that belt is his. Absolutely his. Greasy Four-Leggers been performing well lately. Yes, sir, they have. The Greasy Four-Leggers on fire. Up 3,200 last year and put all of it into splitting, buying a car for my 16-year-old son, only for him to run into a boat on a trailer. It's got too much of his mom in it. Oh, I hope your wife didn't see that comment, brother. Oh, man. Whaley, easiest money over Carly. Needs to do at least 6 years served feds. Yeah, agreed, man. Uncle Weezy for president. Man, I'm not that corrupt. I'm sick of Patty's loud mouth. Me too. After Saturday, just cut Patty and book Dylan Dennis first. Yeah, dude, because at least Dylan Dennis, I mean, there'd be 2 fake fighters in there. And everybody hates Dylan Dennis, and now everyone could like Patty again. You might as well make those kind of fights. Or you could put him up there against like BJ Penn, because BJ Penn is basically dead now, I mean, but, to pretend that this guy is good is ridiculous. They actually KO Patty, Molly McCann. Dude can't see a left hook coming to save his life. Patty may be blind in the right eye because he loves me. Oh, my God. Let's see. All right, you guys, I love you guys. I just do. You guys are the best. I appreciate each and every one of you, but we got to break down fights. Otherwise, we're going to be here for 2.5 hours. We got 14 fights to break down. I'm not even going to read my notes because it'll take too long. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here. If you want these stats, they are on the Patreon. That address is right there on the ticket. We're going to ask Dan Murgliata to get some help. And we'd love to see Doug Crosby and Sal D'Amato and all these other corrupt judges put in jail. Was Ron McCarthy there? He's another one. Not a fan. Sergey Morozov, though, minus 282 versus Journey Newson at plus 242. Fight doesn't go to decision. A little bit juiced up to plus money here at plus 105. So same age. Morozov just a little bit bigger. Morozov a little more experience as he's got 10 more pro fights, almost 100 more minutes in the cage. Same amount of UFC fights as Journey, but about 16 more minutes in the cage. It's Journey who's been a better finisher as a pro and at the UFC level, and both of these guys get finished when they lose, so neither one of them is particularly durable. When it comes to the striking, I think the striking is going to be very interesting in this fight. Morozov's got good boxing. He lands some good shots. He can hang out in the pocket there and have some success. Newson is not really so much of a pocket boxer as he's got some power in his hands, but he throws a lot of kicks. He's more of a karate style, more of a traditional martial arts type of striker. So even though, he's only 5'5" for a bantamweight, he does a pretty good job of being able Morozov, boy, oh boy. I mean, he's been knocked down 3 times in 4 fights. It seems like he gets hurt a lot on the feet. That last fight against Julian Paiva had him in big trouble in that first round. And Journey Newson hits very hard. Journey Newson does have a knockdown at the UFC level. He absolutely destroyed Domingo Pilardi. And Morozov, 9 of 34 on the takedowns. He's getting good control time. He's got about 16 minutes of control time on those 9 takedowns that he's gotten, but it's 34 attempts. Takedown defense, is at 0% for Journey Newson, but that number can be a little bit deceiving because he's allowed less than 10% control time for. So those three takedowns they've amounted in less than 3 minutes of control time. So Journey Newson might not be as easy to take down and hold down as you think. And Newson's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a good grappler. When you go and you watch that debut against Ricardo Ramos, he had his moments. He definitely had his moments on the feet. He definitely had his moments in the grappling exchanges. He swept him once, and he really held his own with a really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Ricardo Ramos there. So, Morozov's a big favorite here, but I kind of like this Journey Newson money line sitting at plus 240 here because Journey's got power on the feet. Journey's got a very good submission game, and Journey has not been getting held down by people, even though guys like Pilardi and Ramos have tried to take him down. He's done a good job of getting back up. So I do like this fight for Morozov. I think he actually does get the job done here because he goes to the wrestling a lot more, because he's a lot more likely to win minutes there. And I think it's very close on the feet. But if Morozov gets clipped in one of these rounds and he's unable to get the kind of control time that he would need to win those other 2 rounds, man, this is going to be a greasy decision. And I could see Newson not only winning a decision here, but I could see him winning by knockout because Morozov is very chinny. Morozov not getting any younger here at 33 years old either. If we look at the strength of schedule numbers, that's Morozov. He's got the better ratio. He's got more total fights. And you look at the wins here, they're a little bit better. Better ratio, more total fights. But look, I mean, it's not like Morozov's beating world beaters here, you guys. Khalid Taha, Julian Paiva fight was close, you guys. It was very close. Morozov might have been lucky to win that one. So I would not even dream of laying minus 280 on Sergey Morozov in this spot. I might still get to a Journey Newson bet here, but I want to keep seeing where this line goes. It's the last card of the year. Some people might get a little parlay happy, and I just don't think that there's any value on minus 282. And I might take a shot here on Journey Newson. The next fight that we're going to talk about is David the Undertaker Dvorak going up against Manel Kape. Manel Kape's minus 240, the Undertaker plus 205. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 105. So, Manel Kape, oh boy. I mean, great minute winner, big time finisher, explosive. Good wrestling, actually. You see him mix in the wrestling on the regional scene and here at the UFC level just a little bit. But God, is he low volume. He's so low volume. He pressures. He's very explosive. He's got great hands. He's got good kicks, great jump knees. If he backs you up to that cage where you don't have any place to go and he starts letting go with his hands, you're going to be in serious trouble. And Dvorak, he's a little bit older than this guy, but the measurables are almost the same. It's a southpaw versus orthodox matchup. And you look at those career numbers for experience, almost the same in total fights and UFC fights, but it's just Dvorak with a little more cage time, but Manel fighting at a little bit higher level on the regional scene, in my opinion. So Manel Kape has finished all but one of his wins inside the distance. And Manel Kape's lost 4 decisions. So it's important to note what a guy's record is in decisions, because when you're 17-6, but you're 1-4 in decisions, it goes to show you're a great finisher, but you're not a good minute winner. And Dvorak is a good finisher, 80%. So he's got 16 of his 20 wins inside the distance. So he's actually 4-3 in his decisions. He's lost 3 decisions and he's won 4. He's been knocked out in one of his losses, but he's never been finished at the UFC level. So you look at these guys' numbers. Kape's landing more significant strikes per minute, but like Dvorak throws more than his opponents throw, while Kape throws less. And Kape actually lands 0.1 more significant strikes per minute than his opponents do, but Dvorak lands almost 1 more. So he's definitely, doing a little bit better in the significant strike differential area, but it's Kape who's more accurate, and it's Kape who's a lot more powerful, as he's got 3 knockdowns in only 4 fights, and he's got 2 wins by knockout at the UFC level. But Dvorak's definitely a lot more defensively responsible. And like I said, Manel's very low volume. He will stalk you, but he kind of likes to counter. And if you kind of play a point fighting game with him and don't really enter into boxing range, move well laterally, and don't overcommit on your boxing, Kape will just sit there and take pictures and do nothing. And so we've got Kape here as a minus 240 favorite. This is bordering on 70% implied probability right now. And in my opinion, it's just long-term gambling suicide to bet on guys like Kape who can't win minutes, to lay that kind of price on the money line. I think if you're going to bet Kape, you kind of have to bet him inside the distance. But the problem with that is that Dvorak's only been finished once in his entire career that spans over 12 years and 24 fights. Dude's only been finished once, and it was a long time ago. So, when it comes to the striking, I think Dvorak can win minutes here. And when it comes to the grappling, Dvorak 0 for 4 on his takedowns, but he's showing 81% takedown defense in his own right. I mean, you look at these guys, both of these guys are spending about 89% of their cage time at striking range. Dvorak has been dropped once, but he's got 62% striking defense. This guy knows how to land more strikes than his opponent. And he does throw with some power as well. He does have a good finish rate. Kape, is going to be more knockout dependent than he is on the sub, but he's got very good Brazilian jiu-jitsu, just like Dvorak does. I think that Manel Kape does win this fight. I think he will find an explosive moment at some point. And even if he doesn't, I don't know if Dvorak is good enough of a minute winner. I don't know if we can count on him to actually mix in some wrestling and win some minutes that way. But if he could, if I could count on David Dvorak to get 2 takedowns in this fight, I would be betting that money line at plus 205, thinking that he could get the job done. But I don't think he's finishing Kape. I think it would be surprising if he wound up having some success controlling Kape on the ground, if he got to his back, if he won a round with some grappling. I'm going to pick Manel Kape to win this fight. And maybe Manel Kape inside the distance will be something I toy with for the greasy 4-legger this week. But I can't in good conscience tell anybody to lay that kind of juice on somebody like Kape who might just sit there for 3 rounds if he doesn't get his way. There's no plan B for Kape. He's looking to kind of suck you in, to make you lead and land that big counter. And if he doesn't get that, he doesn't get that in the first round, he's going to look for it in the second. If he doesn't get it in the second and he goes back to his corner and his corner says, will you fucking do something different? He won't. He'll go back out there and he'll try to do plan A in the third, even though it hasn't worked in the first and the second. I have no faith in Manel Kape's ability to make good decisions in the cage. I have no faith in his ability to win minutes. And I really don't have any faith that he's even going to show up on weight and without having another horrible weight cut. The guy just seems lazy. He seems like he's got all the talent in the world and none of the desire. And I would never lay minus 240 on a fighter of that archetype. So, yeah, I mean, but still, it's going to be a tough road to hoe for Dvorak because I don't see him winning minutes in the grappling easily, and I don't see him landing the more powerful shots here. So I still got to go with Kape. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. I've got to put my picks up here for you guys. So I'm going to pick Sergey Morozov to win by decision, even though I could certainly see getting to a Journey Newson bet this week because I just don't think Sergey Morozov is much better than Journey Newson anywhere. He's probably the better wrestler, but I think Journey might actually have better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, yeah, but I think Morozov is just more likely to win minutes with the grappling. And then Dvorak, Kape. We'll go Kape by knockout in the second round. But, boy. I don't like Manel Kape. I'm sorry. The next fight is Bryan Battle versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. Battle plus 125. Rinat minus 145. Fight doesn't go to decision. Sitting at minus 145 here. So we got some nice measurables advantages here for Battle as he's 3 years younger, an inch taller, and he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. We've got Rinat with 11 more fights, about twice as much cage time. He's got about 65 more minutes in the cage than Battle does. But Battle's got a couple more fights at the UFC level. He was in the Tough House, about 8 more minutes in the UFC cage. Both of these guys are good finishers, but Bryan Battle is the better finisher because he's finished 2 of his 3 UFC wins. Rinat Fakhretdinov couldn't even finish Andreas Mihalidis, who's just not UFC level. So, I mean, I don't... The guys that Rinat Fakhretdinov are finishing are very, very, very low-level guys. So there's really just nothing to let us believe that Rinat's going to ever finish fights at this level. Bryan Battle's been subbed in his only loss, and Rinat's only loss came by decision. The striking, all Bryan Battle. He's going to throw more volume. He's got a much more diverse array of strikes. He's way more technical. Rinat just kind of throws an overhand right and throws it with his eyes closed like he's throwing a baseball. His striking is god-awful. But he's smart in that he knows it's god-awful, but he'll just throw bombs to try to get inside and then to start wrestling. And he does that very well. Rinat's an excellent wrestler. So we've seen Bryan Battle taken down 4 times in 3 fights. He's given up 17% control time, and he's showing 55% takedown defense. So the path for Fakhretdinov to do exactly what he did against Mihalidis, which is to get 86% control time, to only allow 4% control time, and to get 5 takedowns over 15 minutes. That's what he's going to do. But the thing is that this is a much better conditioned athlete in Bryan Battle and a much better wrestler. And Bryan Battle's got a very, very good submission game. You start shooting in sloppily on this guy and you give him your neck, he's going to snatch it up. And I would, from what I've seen from Rinat, if you were to ask me, who wins a Rinat Fakhretdinov Andre Petroski fight, I'm probably lining Petroski minus 200, minus 250. Battle destroyed Petroski. As a matter of fact, Petroski did have some success in that fight, but he had to fake that he got what did he say happened? Because Bryan Battle knees him in the head, and he claims he got headbutted. And Mark Smith evidently was watching something else besides the fight. So then he said that they needed a replay. So it actually gave Petroski, who was getting shaved up to that point, about a minute to relax while they ran the replay because of the false claim that he made. He lied about it. And then he got Battle to the ground and actually rode out the end of the first round. But Battle didn't make it easy on him. Battle really made him work for the takedown, kept working to get back to his feet. And by the time Petroski came out for the second, he was done. And Rinat faced no resistance 2 minutes into that fight because Michailidis has no cardio. So after the first takedown, Michailidis was done. He couldn't stop any more takedowns. So we just saw Rinat just kind of coast out that fight. But the bottom line is that Bryan Battle is by far the best mixed martial artist that Rinat Fakhretdinov has ever shared the cage with. So you look at, like Eric Spicely, garbage. Johnny Carlos, garbage. Alberto Uda, garbage. That's another guy that's got Andreas Michailidis type cardio. And then when you look at the wins before that, they're all 0-0 guys in promotions that nobody's ever heard of. So Fakhretdinov is not like this Dagestani guy. He's a Tartar. He's from a very, very small, quiet corner of the country. He's not wrestling with Dagestanis. He's not wrestling with these killers, He's fought very low-level competition here, and Battle hasn't. And Battle's very well-rounded. He's got excellent cardio. He's got excellent output, and he's got a good get-up game and a very sneaky submission game when people do try to take him down. So I like Bryan Battle here actually quite a bit in this spot. If you're going to bet Rinat Fakhretdinov, I would bet him to win by decision. I don't think that he's going to finish Bryan Battle. I'd be surprised if he got anywhere near Battle on the feet because Battle does such a great job of controlling distance with his kicks that and Rinat's really just all hands, and it's just really the overhand right. So I think Battle is going to really look good here. I think he's going to show out in this performance. I have a 1-unit bet on Bryan Battle that I got right when the line opened at plus 150. He's plus 125 right now. I still think that's an excellent price. And I think that Bryan Battle probably wins this fight by decision because even if Fakhretdinov does get 6 or 7 minutes of control time, I don't think he's going to do much with it. And I think while this thing is on the feet, Bryan will be landing the much heavier, significant strikes. So I'm picking Bryan Battle, and I'm going to pick him to win this one by decision. And I hope that bet cashes. But Fakhretdinov is a very good wrestler. I need to see him do it against somebody that's UFC level, and he's never sniffed the UFC level yet. So I'm looking for the younger guy. I'm looking for the more dynamic guy. I'm looking for the much more athletic guy here in Bryan Battle, and I got a 1-unit bet on him. The next fight is going to be Rafa Garcia at minus 136 going against Maheshate plus 116. The fight doesn't go to decision, up at plus 120. Let's see here. Very interesting fight. Striker versus grappler matchup. While this thing is on the feet, I think that Garcia is pretty much fucked. And that's why I don't. So when I saw this line, you guys, I saw Rafa Garcia minus 120, Maheshate plus 100. And my first thought was, man, Garcia at minus 120. He's the much better grappler here. And the thing about Maheshate is there's no tape on the guy. You see his Contender Series fight. You see his fight with Garcia. And then there's one fight in M1 where he gets drowned by this Russian wrestler who I think shot 77 takedowns during the fight. So, and we just saw Maheshate just not be able to deal with that. He never quit. He never stopped trying to get up. He didn't just put his shoulder blades on the mat and let the guy have his way with him, but he had no moments of success in that fight. So, but there were 5 fights after that where there's no tape of it. So Maheshate does have a wrestling background. It's Chinese Greco-Roman wrestling, which, it just doesn't translate to this level. But Garcia, 28% control time. That's pretty good. But I'd like to see a little bit more than that when a guy is averaging almost 9 takedown attempts per fight. When a guy is getting 4 takedowns per 15 minutes, I would really like to see more than 28% control time. If we look at the advanced stats for Rafa Garcia here, in order for me to be comfortable that Rafa wins this fight, right, I've got to see him in control time positions probably more than half the fight because Maheshate is going to smoke this dude on the feet. He's way taller. He's way longer, and he's got a way more diversity of strikes. And he's explosive with his jump knees. He keeps distance well with his kicks, and he's got a piston-like right hand that comes right down the middle. Maheshate is going to be way better on the feet. And when we look here, we see, 3 takedowns, 174 seconds of control time in a loss. 5 takedowns, 386 seconds of control time in a loss. And then his wins are coming against Jesse Ronson, who's, a pure kickboxer. His ground game is not good. And Natan Levy, he did a really good job winning the grappling exchanges in that fight. Got 7 takedowns, but still controlled the fight for less than half the time, 337 seconds of control time. It was enough to win the fight. But I kind of feel like if Garcia doesn't get takedowns in every single round, and if he doesn't hold this dude down here or get his back or ride out 2 of these rounds with a ton of control time, I think Maheshate is going to smoke him. If you're getting pieced up on the feet by Gritzmacher, Maheshate is going to kill you. So this is a very tough fight to call. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. And I would like to see Rafa Garcia with more of a control game, because Maheshate knows he's going to try to take him down, but the dude moves very well, and he's tall. Tall guys are very hard to take down and hold down. They can always find a base. They can always find something to post on. And, if they've got any kind of a submission game, those long limbs can be trouble for you to work through when you are trying to take them down. And I just, as good as Rafa's been, 18 takedowns in 5 fights, 3.87 per 15 minutes, getting those takedowns at a 43% clip on top of that, as good as he's been, that fight against Haqparast, that's what this fight is going to look like if he doesn't get this guy down. He's going to get styled on. And I think probably that's what happens here, because I'm really having a hard time seeing Rafa get enough control time against Maheshate to win a decision here. Maybe if he gets a submission, but I think this guy Maheshate is getting better. The kid's still only 23 years old. He could be making improvements by leaps and bounds, but let's not get it twisted. Rafa Garcia is the much better grappler. Rafa Garcia has fought the way, way, way better brand of competition. He's more experienced. It's just that he's going to be undersized and he's going to be the much worse striker. So I think it's just you're depending on what your read on the fight is. But my read is that Maheshate is going to win this one by decision, because I just don't love the control time of Garcia. I think he could be better, and he's lost a couple of fights where he got takedowns and got a bunch of control time because he's not good enough on the feet and because he doesn't decisively win the minutes on the ground either. So the pick is going to be Maheshate by decision. The next fight, wow, what a fight. Said Nurmagomedov against Saidyokub Kakhramonov. We got Dagestan against Uzbekistan here. Saidyokub got some family here in Illinois. He trained over at Team Oyama, and then I think he was also training up in Spokane, Washington as well. Not exactly sure where Saidyokub is training right now at the moment. What I have is Team Oyama, but I feel like the fight against Ronnie Lawrence that he was working with different people. But either way, what a prospect here in Kakhramonov. And then you've got a guy in Said who's only 30, and he's already got 6 UFC fights in about 50 minutes in the UFC cage here. So Said Nurmagomedov is going to be the bigger, longer guy here. He's got more experience, and he's got more UFC experience. Kakhramonov, the better finish rate as a pro, but it's Said Nurmagomedov who's finished 3 of 5 UFC wins, while Said, it's 1 of 2 wins. And then Said Nurmagomedov has never been finished, and Kakhramonov has been knocked out once in 12 fights by Pipe Vargas in round number 3. While this is on the feet, I think Said Nurmagomedov is the better striker, but something really bothers me about Said Nurmagomedov, and that's you shouldn't be throwing spinning shit 14 times every round. And he keeps fucking doing it. Keeps spinning. Everybody knows it's coming. And I really haven't seen him have a lot of success with it, which is weird because he goes to it like it works all the time. And with a guy that wrestles like Kakhramonov, you just cannot be spinning. You just can't be spinning and showing this guy your back. You're going to get taken down. And I think that Said is going to be, Said Nurmagomedov, that is going to be more dangerous at distance from striking. Kakhramonov is going to use the striking to get his way into the grappling. We can kind of see it here, right? 45% control time for, 30% control time allowed for Kakhramonov. So over 75% of his fights thus far at the UFC level have taken place in control time positions, while for Nurmagomedov, it's about 20% of his fights that are taking place in control time positions. 80% is taking place at striking range. But Said, I think the most important fight to watch is that Cody Stamann fight against Said Nurmagomedov. I think what Cody did is what Saidyokub is going to do in this fight. Saidyokub is going to pressure, I think, right? And he walks down people and he throws heat. And when he gets your back up to the cage, it allows him to get the wrestling entries that he would like to have. And we've seen Said Nurmagomedov taken down 3 times, control 15% of his UFC career. And we've seen guys like Kakhramonov go out there and get 10 takedowns in one fight. So we know that Saidyokub can wrestle. We know that Said Nurmagomedov's got a good defensive submission game, that he's got a good get-up game. He's got solid takedown defense. This guy's Dagestani. Even though he prefers to strike, you know he's been in a wrestling room with these guys, and you know that he's been, defending their takedowns. And that in order to be able to develop that type of style, training with the guys that he trains with, he's got to have good takedown defense. When it comes to the strength of schedule here, more experienced competition for Nurmagomedov, slightly better ratio for Kakhramonov here, but that'll come back down, But this guy Kakhramonov has had some really tough fights already. Trevin Jones, Ronnie Lawrence, Umar Nurmagomedov, Pipe Vargas and Askar and Tyson Lin on the regional scene. All good names. But Said's been in there with Ricardo Ramos, Hani Barcelos, Cody Stamann, Douglas Silva de Andrade. Even Justin Scoggins was his debut a while back. Very good fight there. But I'm leaning Said Nurmagomedov in this spot. I think he's a little bit better than Saidyokub everywhere. I think both of these guys have power on the feet. I think maybe Saidyokub's offensive wrestling is a little bit better, but that, Said and Saidyokub both have vicious front chokes. They both really dig for that guillotine when somebody tries to wrestle on them. But I kind of feel like Saidyokub Kakhramonov is the one that has to wrestle here if he's going to find ways to win this fight. I just don't see him doing it on the feet. And I think that Said Nurmagomedov is just as dangerous in the grappling exchanges here. So I have to go with Said Nurmagomedov to win this fight. And I'm going to pick him to win it by decision. It's a great fight. And then this next one is really compelling, you guys. And by the way, Said Nurmagomedov just a little bit better than a coin flip here at -113. Saidyokub -107. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at +120. All right. Let me just see something here real quick, you guys. My guy, Zero Miedo in the room. My guy, Addicted to Combat in the room. See a new name, Gage Webster. What's up, Gage Webster? Chip Pilar. We got Mushroom. Nandoval Razaya. What's up, everybody? Good to have you guys in here hanging out with us. You're staying up late with me today, aren't you? 70 of you here hanging out with your Uncle Weezy, even though it's 1 a.m. on the East Coast. It's after midnight here in the Midwest. So I appreciate all you guys that are rocking with me here. We've got a few more fights to break down. 14 total fights on this card. I think we're 4 or 5 of the way in here. 2, 3, 4, 5. We're 5, so we got 9 more to go. Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis against Deron Winn. Whew! This is a fun fight, man. I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's see. Marquez has got so many holes in his game. Deron Winn has got so many holes in his game. We got Deron Winn is going to be 8 inches shorter than Julian Marquez. He's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage here. Marquez has got a couple more fights, a little more experience at the UFC level, one more UFC level fight. Julian Marquez, a 100% finish rate. Deron Winn really only finishing guys on the regional scene, low-level guys. While Deron Winn has been finished in 2 of his 3 losses, and Julian Marquez has been finished in 1 of 3 losses. Julian Marquez is incredibly durable. He blocks punches with his face, but I think it's his durability that's his best attribute, because I think the way that he wins fights is he just loses them, and he's one of those guys. I remember Paul Felder talking about this once while he was calling fights. Shout out Paul Felder, great announcer, great actor, great fighter. But Paul said that one of the nightmares that he would have as a fighter was you're dreaming and you're in a fight and you're landing your best shots and the guy just won't go away. And you're landing shots so hard that would have melted anybody else. And when somebody's eating your best shots over and over and over again, and they keep coming forward, in a certain sense, if you're a fighter that really depends on confidence, that could be worse than getting your ass kicked, is starting to believe that your punches don't hurt. And Marquez is kind of like that guy, right? He just will never quit on himself. The guy is he's stupid durable. I mean, the beating that he took from Gregory Rodriguez in round 1. Let's see how many significant strikes Julian Marquez absorbed at the hands, because he landed 13. He absorbed almost 50 in less than a round from Barack Obama, a RoboCop Brazilian version of Barack Obama. And before that, he had never been finished, and just, the guy takes in a crazy amount of damage. But that durability will be of no help to him, because Deron Winn has no power. So Deron Winn doesn't win fights with, like knocking people out or, ground and pounding their head through the canvas. He hugs people. He wins time and control time positions. He depends entirely on his wrestling, unless you're better than him at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in which case he just hopes he's the better striker. And if you give him one of the worst strikers in the history of the organization, and Eric Spicely, yeah, he'll go out there and he'll win. But if you give him guys with any kind of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game or any kind of takedown defense, and there's just no plan B for Deron Winn. And, when you see it when he loses, the Phil Hawes fight, that was a complete ass shaving. Deron Winn landed 32 strikes and absorbed 118, right? And, I mean, it's fucking crazy, right? Because you're like, shit, Deron, you're getting pieced up on the feet. And since you wrestled with the United States Olympic team, how about you try to take down Hawes? But he doesn't have any confidence in his wrestling if he's wrestling somebody else that has a wrestling background. So as horrible of a fighter as I think Julian Marquez is, I mean, I think both of these guys are really bad. I can't really see betting money, real money on either one of them, but a finish-only prop for Julian Marquez is absolutely, that's the best bet of this fight, because Deron Winn's can't finish a glass of water at this level. He's not finishing anybody, and he's not finishing a guy that you would basically need to sneak a brick into the fucking cage in order to finish him in Julian Marquez. Julian Marquez got knocked out by Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. Deron Winn doesn't hit like that, okay? Deron Winn's a phenomenal wrestler. Okay, but that's about the end of his skill set. His boxing is serviceable, but having serviceable boxing when you're 5'6" as a middleweight isn't much of a skill set to have. But the problem, you guys, is that Antonio Arroyo fight. This is one of the wins here for Deron Winn. He gets 569 seconds of control time and 12 takedowns, and I could see that happening to Marquez. Marquez got piss poor takedown defense. And this is very interesting, right? So I'm watching the Julian Marquez Maki Pitolo fight. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember this fight. I don't remember if this was the night that I seem to remember this being one of those nights where some weird shit happened. It might have been the night that Rodolfo Vieira got subbed by Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. But I remember Maki was a guy, coconut bombs, that was known for going out there and just, throwing hands, being more powerful, relying on his chin, and the dude hit like a truck, right? So at the time, Julian Marquez had been training over with Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture. Then before that fight, he had switched over to train with James Krause over at Glory MMA. And Maki had come from Florida to the 8th Island, which is Las Vegas, and he started training with Nixick over at Extreme Couture. So that fight starts, and about 30 to 45 seconds in, Maki Pitolo starts wrestling. And I'm watching the fight going, what, he's a fucking wrestler now? This doesn't make any sense, right? And I remember at the time, it made no sense. Like, how the hell is Maki Pitolo out wrestling this guy? We've seen Maki Pitolo get out wrestled. That's what happens. He doesn't go out there and out wrestle guys. Well, I thought it was interesting that Eric Nixick had just stopped training Marquez. Marquez goes to Glory. They bring in Maki Pitolo, and now Nixick is coaching Pitolo, but he knows Julian Marquez. And what does Pitolo go out there and do? He goes out there and he wrestles. Well, you get the impression that maybe Eric Nixick knew for a fact that Julian Marquez can't stop a fucking takedown to save his life, and that because he used to train Julian Marquez, that was why we saw something that confusing, which was Maki Pitolo putting on his singlet and going out there and winning 14 of the 15 minutes of this fight with his wrestling. It's because Eric Nixick knew for a fact that Julian Marquez has no fucking ability to stop takedowns. And he made Maki Pitolo look like George St. Pierre out there. So when I saw that, and it just got me thinking, like, can I get Deron Winn by decision at plus 400, plus 450, and maybe throw a quarter unit on it or a third of a unit on it to try to win a little bit over a unit and say maybe this guy's takedown defense still sucks? Maybe he still can't get up, because Deron Winn can take you down, man. He's got a number of different ways to do it. Single legs, double legs, body locks. This guy trained with the U.S. Olympic team. He's got very good wrestling, and he will keep going to it for the full 15 because there's no plan B. So it's a very interesting fight, you guys. I actually think that Deron Winn can get a win here because his skill set plays into the biggest weakness that we've seen exploited by guys who, if Maki Pitolo wrestled Deron Winn, it wouldn't even be close, but Maki Pitolo went out there and looked like a goddamn D1 wrestler against Julian Marquez. And, and Marquez isn't going to be able to trust that durability and, tire out his opponent by just letting them punch themselves out as if he's Homer Simpson. Because that's not the game plan that Deron Winn's going to bring. So I'm actually going to take a shot on Deron Winn here. And I don't think Deron Winn's a great UFC fighter, but I don't think Julian Marquez is either. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting fight. I think it's a fascinating fight. I think it's going to be a very fun fight to watch. Could be a great meme finish in here. I think Marquez, a finish-only prop for Julian Marquez, is a potential max bet. I mean, if you're getting at that at minus 200 or better, max bet it. Fuck it. Deron Winn's not finishing Julian Marquez. So I think that's a great way to look at this. But to be cheeky, to take you to that second and third level of stats, I'm going to pick Deron Winn to win by decision. And I'm having fun with this. It's the last just the tip of the year, you guys. So let's have some fun, huh? Yeah, and Breezy's saying, is Marquez the parlay buster? I'm calling it now, man. I mean, yeah, I can see it, dude. It looks like there's a lot of parlay busters on this card. But Marquez minus 168, Deron Winn plus 148. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 200. So maybe, and if you like that win side, maybe you bet the overs as well. because you say to yourself, if he has success wrestling, if he can hold Julian Marquez down, maybe this thing does go over as well. Next fight, Jake Matthews versus Matt Semelsberger. This is a great one. Matthews still only 28 years old. That's mind-blowing to me. This guy, we've watched this guy grow up in front of our eyes. He's a very talented young mixed martial artist who's been a mixed martial artist since day one. He wrestles, he boxes, he's got very good jiu-jitsu. This guy can do it all. And he's facing up against a guy like Semelsberger, who's a former football player, an explosive athlete, huge for the division, very long for the division. 75-inch reach is the real deal. I was just watching the Morozov fight for Semelsberger, and I was very impressed, actually. Morozov looked great in that fight. Semelsberger had his orbital broken in the first round and couldn't see out of that eye for the rest of the fight. And he's big, he's long, he's powerful, he's durable, and he's explosive. And Jake Matthews, coming off a career performance against Andre Fialho. But when you go behind that, there's not a lot of meat on the bone in Jake Matthews' career here. And I would look, if you guys are looking to make a Jake Matthews bet right now, at minus 260, I would encourage you, because there's a ton of recency bias in this line. A ton of it, because Matthews looked fantastic against Fialho. Fialho looked horrible in that fight. I don't know if he had food poisoning. I don't know if the fact that was in Singapore and he was halfway across the world absolutely destroyed his body clock. But Fialho didn't even show up to that fight. So don't get over the moon about the Jake Matthews performance against Fialho. If you want to pay minus 260 on Jake Matthews this week, you better go back to that Brady fight, that Sanchez fight, that Mech fight, the Rostam Akhman fight, and find some shit in there that you think is making Jake Matthews worth this price. And I promise you, you're not going to find much. The fucking Sanchez performance was trash. Sean Brady's Sean Brady. Matt Semelsberger is not Sean Brady, so we can't really take much from that fight. The Mech fight, the Akhman fight, he's not even finishing these guys. Matt Semelsberger is very durable. He's very explosive. He's a good striker. And he's going to do something, too. One of the things that people don't really realize here is that Semelsberger's 70% of the time striking. It's about 38, 40, 50, 55-ish percent for Matthews. He's spending about 55% of his cage time striking. 7 significant strike attempts per minute. Semelsberger, 11.5. He throws a lot more volume. He's been a lot more powerful, and he's been in there with power punchers. Guys like Chaos Williams can absolutely one punch knock you out. Matthews looked good, but Fialho looked awful, you guys. And we can see Matthews potentially having some wrestling success here. That's what I'd like to see him do. But we've seen Semelsberger be very difficult to hold down because the guy's so athletic, because he's so strong. So I see this fight playing out very close. I think that most of this fight is going to take place striking. And I think that Semelsberger's absolutely live on the feet to land big shots and to make this very close. If you look at the strength of schedule, you would expect it to be way better for Jake Matthews. It's just not. You look at Jake Matthews' strength of schedule over his career and you look at the wins, guys, you don't lay minus 260 on guys whose best wins, one win over Jingling, but then it's Deshaun Johnson, Wagner Rocha, Akbar Areola, Johnny Case, Bojan Velikovic, Shinjo Anzai, Rostam Akhman, Emil Mech, a 2020 version of Diego Sanchez, and then an Andre Fialho that just didn't even show up. 43 wins, 42 losses. When he faces guys with winning records, he loses. Sean Brady, Anthony Rocco Martin, Andrew Holbrook, Kevin Lee, James Vick, striker, wrestler, all-around guy, jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, he loses to all different types of fighters. So this line's entirely too wide. I like Jake Matthews. The last performance was great. I think he's probably the better wrestler. He's definitely more experienced. He's been doing this longer, and he's fought at the UFC level for a much longer time. But when you look at the names that Semelsberger's facing, yeah, I mean, he's got wins over Martin Sano. AJ Fletcher's a good fighter. You know, Jason Witt, meh. Carlton minus. Yeah, so the wins aren't great for Semelsberger either. But that Chaos Williams fight could have went either way. And that Alex Morono fight, in my opinion, could have went either way. So I just believe that this guy, if he can hang with Morono, if he can have close fights with Chaos Williams and Alex Morono, he can have a close fight with Jake Matthews. And I don't see Matthews that much more skilled anywhere than Matthew Semelsberger to make this line where it is. I think this is a huge example of recency bias, and I would be very careful laying that minus 260 on Jake Matthews. And once again, just like earlier when I was saying I was considering the plus 205 on Dvorak, I'm considering the plus 220 on Semelsberger. I'm even considering the plus 116 on Maheshate. I'm considering the plus 240 on Journey Newsom. These favorites are entirely too wide this week. This next one, great fight. Had fun watching tape on this one. Cory McKenna versus Cheyanne Vlismas. Vlismas minus 195. Cory McKenna plus 170. Fight doesn't go to decision plus 250. So they do see this one going the distance, but this is a good striker versus grappler matchup. McKenna's got serviceable striking. Vlismas has got serviceable takedown defense and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But Cheyenne's going to be better on the feet, and Cory's going to be better on the ground. If Cory can't get this fight to the ground, I see her having virtually no chance of winning. And even if she does get it to the ground, I think there's a very good chance that Cheyenne's able to get right back up and really punish her when she does get back up, or really punish her when she does go in for those takedowns. So Cory's younger, but she's just so small. Cory's never going to have serviceable, like above average striking for this division, no matter how much she works on it, because she's undersized and she's not like this explosive athlete. She doesn't have crazy power. She doesn't have any of those things. And the 58-inch reach is a problem. So in terms of experience, they've got the same amount of fights. Cheyenne's got some more cage time. And at the UFC level, it's almost identical. Cheyanne, the better UFC level finisher, and neither of these ladies has ever been finished. Excuse me. Paloma time. On the feet, Cheyenne's so much more powerful. Just in terms of when you watch her strike, it looks good. When I was watching the Mallory Martin fight, I believe, they had Dean Thomas talking about how Cheyanne was, cuts an angle on the way in, throws 1 to 3 shots, and then cuts an angle on the way out. And the angles are never the same. When she's in range, she's throwing, and when she stops throwing, she's moving out of range. She just looks really good on the feet, Cheyanne does. And she looks powerful, too. She's throwing in combination. She looks like she's trying to hurt you. She doesn't look like she's trying to touch. You know what I'm saying? She looks like she's throwing to touch, but she also looks like she's trying to knock you off your fucking feet. And she's mean. Now, good takedown defense here for Cheyanne. 73% takedown defense. She's being taken down 1.3 times for 15 minutes, but she has given up 28% control time. The problem with that number is, on the aggregate, is that we're not really seeing her controlled outside of this fight here. 593 seconds of control time she gave up to Montserrat Ruiz, who's a wrestler. Ruiz is a Mexican wrestling champion, I believe, and she kept getting her with that same head and arm throw that she gets everybody with. It's it's just that step across headlock throw. It's like a schoolyard bully throw. You get a headlock, you step in front of the legs, and then you just pull that arm in their head right over your hip. And it's very hard to deal with. But the thing about MMA is that that's a judo throw. So when you do that and you're wearing a gi, you can hold on to the collar of the gi, and you can use that while holding the head to keep them from taking your back. There's no gi in this. So, you really risk getting your back taken. And Cheyanne, by the time she would get out of it, it was like there would be 10 seconds left in the round by the time she reversed the position against Montserrat. So she really had problems in that fight. But when you see her in these fights like against Hillary Rose and Gloria DePaula and Mallory Martin, if you're unable to get this girl down and keep her there, she wins dominantly. She wins these striking exchanges cleanly, and she's got a lot more power. And then, we have to talk about that, the Elise Reed fight for Cory McKenna, where she showed zero fight IQ. Bottom of the barrel, just flat out dumb ass performance by Cory McKenna and her corner there. And she's entirely dependent on the wrestling here. Now, she went out there against Miranda Granger, who was recently coming off of a pregnancy, who hadn't fought in 2 years. But she was minus 200 there, or actually minus 230 or minus 240. Now you're getting a much better price on Cory McKenna, and I could see taking the dog shot on her here because there is a path to victory. If you watch that Montserrat Ruiz fight, it is possible to control her on the ground, like Ruiz did, like Conejo did, But the problem is that Cory's not getting head and arm throws on Cheyanne Vlismas. She's not physical enough to get that. She's really good at getting her hands locked underneath your butt and then picking you up and taking you for a ride. She gets those takedowns. She gets them very well. But my God, when you go and you watch that Elise Reed fight, if she can't keep Elise Reed down, if she can't have success against Elise Reed, and Cory McKenna got 3 takedowns in that fight and only managed 226 seconds of control time. That's pathetic. And even that second takedown that she got in the second round, she got it with 10 seconds left, and she got less than 5 seconds of control time on that one. A lot of that control time was actually spent in the clinch. So, unless she's being with girls like Kay Hansen and Vanessa Demopoulos, where she's winning control time positions because those girls are jiu-jitsu girls who are willing to play around on the ground with her, unless Cory McKenna's getting 400 or 500 seconds of control time here, I don't see her having any chance to win this fight because Cheyanne's going to be piecing her up on the feet. There's a power differential here. There's a speed differential. There's an athleticism differential. And I think Cheyanne is going to make this one look pretty clean here. But there is that possibility that Cory McKenna's wrestling takes that next step again, that she winds up controlling Cheyanne for all 3 rounds, having success with the wrestling for all 3 rounds. But that's her path. So it's Cory McKenna by decision, or it's potentially Cheyanne Vlismas inside the distance by knockout or by decision as well, just by landing the bigger shots. But I'm picking Cheyanne to win this one, and I'm going to pick her to win it by decision. And then the Matthews-Semelsberger fight, I didn't actually give you guys a prediction there. I guess I'll go Matthews by decision, but I'm very, very close to making that Semelsberger bet. Cody Brundage versus Michal Oleksiejczuk is the next fight. And on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, Lou Betya and I will be interviewing Cody tomorrow evening. Keep an eye out for that link. I will tweet it out as soon as we're ready to go. But I'm thinking about 6 o'clock Central Time, I think, is when we're going. No, it'll actually be 7 at Central Time. Either way, whatever. We're going to figure it out. Cody Brundage, Michal Oleksiejczuk. We got Michal. He's got 2 inches of reach. Both of these guys are young. Southpaw versus Orthodox matchup. Michal is more experienced, 13 more pro fights, 80 more minutes in the UFC cage, or in the pro cage, and about 5 more years as a pro fighter. He's also got 5 more UFC level fights and 40 more minutes in the UFC cage. So Oleksiejczuk, nice measurables advantages and experience advantages here. Cody Brundage is the better finisher. is he's got an 88% finish rate. He's finished both of his UFC wins. Oleksiejczuk has finished 4 of 5 UFC wins and 77% of his pro wins. And Michal has been finished in 4 of 5 losses, while Brundage has been finished in 1 of 2 losses. On the feet, this should be Michal Oleksiejczuk all day. He's the southpaw. He throws a lot of volume. He's got a very herky-jerky style, good body shots, good power, very strange timing. So he's a difficult guy to figure out. But he's got an advantage here in that Michal recently fought Dustin Jacoby, and Dustin Jacoby is a teammate of Cody Brundage's. So now that Cody works with Dustin quite a bit, he's going to get that scouting report from a guy that's not only been in the cage with Oleksiejczuk for 15 minutes, but's beaten him. So I think that's a very interesting look there. Now, on the ground, this is all Brundage. And Brundage has got a good ground game. Now, it's not just the wrestling. When you watch the William Knight fight, when Cody got William down, it was alarming the speed with which he took Williams back there. And then what had happened was, while he had his hooks in on Williams' back, William got wrist control on both of Cody's wrists, and he just held him there. And even though Cody had just gotten on this man's back like 10 seconds earlier, Herb Dean, for some reason, is starting to tell him that he's going to stand him up if he doesn't get busy. But Cody can't get busy because Williams holding his wrists. So I thought that was really interesting that he wound up getting Cody to kind of work harder than he should have had to. He got out of position. William got the reverse and then wound up getting that knockout. But Michal Oleksiejczuk has been taken down 3 times at the UFC level. And I don't know if you're listening, Cody, but here's the scouting report, brother. When we go here, we can find these fights where Michal lost. And the fights that he lost were the ones where he was taken down. He was taken down in this fight once by Dustin Jacoby. He was taken down this fight 8 times by Jimmy Crute. And he was taken down this time one time in this fight with Ovince St. Preux. And just so happens that all those 3 fights where he was taken down are the only 3 losses in his career. 190 seconds of control time, 183 seconds of control time, and only 50 seconds of control time against St. Preux. So he's been taken down 3 times. The times that he was taken down, he's been taken down in 3 different fights. He's been subbed in 2 of them, and the only one he didn't get subbed in was by Dustin Jacoby, who's pretty much a pure kickboxer. But the common denominator is if you get more than 10 seconds of control time or 1 takedown, it's enough to beat this man as long as he doesn't knock you out before you do that. So Michal Oleksiejczuk does have a hole in his game, and we haven't seen him patch it yet because dudes don't try to take him down. I mean, I think maybe Alvey did, but Alvey never. Yeah, Alvey tried once. We got 2 takedown attempts in this fight, 2 in this fight, 1 in this fight. So who are these 2 guys? So Bukowskis tried to take him down. Shamil tried to take him down after he started getting smoked. But, yeah, man, this is a fun fight. And I've got to bet on Cody Brundage here at plus 230 because there's a path. Cody Brundage can absolutely wrestle. And Michal Oleksiejczuk has lost every single fight that he's ever been taken down in at the UFC level. So don't tell me there's not a path here for Cody. In addition to that, everyone expected Tresean Gore to be the striker in the striker versus grappler matchup of Gore versus Brundage. But it's Brundage by meeting Gore in the middle, by going to that wrestling early and often, by creating that up and down game where conditioning begins to play a major part of the fight. When he does that, if he pushes that kind of a pace with Oleksiejczuk's not stopping a lot of takedowns, you guys. And the fights where he is getting taken down, he got controlled for 90% of the fight against Jimmy Crute. He got controlled in this fight for just 10% of the fight by Ovince St. Preux. And Ovince St. Preux tries, a takedown once every 3 years. And it just so happens one takedown that he tries against Michal Oleksiejczuk, which he waits till the second round to get in typical Ovin St. Preux fashion. Why do something now when you can wait 8.5 minutes to do it and get your face pounded in the meantime? That's all it took for Ovin. So I'm really worried about laying that kind of juice on Oleksiejczuk here. Now, Brundage has been knocked out, but it was on the ground, not really on the feet. Love this spot for Cody Brundage at plus 230. And I'm picking him to win this fight. And it's not just because I'm interviewing him, you guys. It's because he trains with a guy who's already beaten him. It's because he's the better wrestler. It's because he probably has the better conditioning. And it's because Oleksiejczuk has shown a giant hole in his game. And that hole happens to also be where Cody does his best work. So I'm picking Cody Brundage, and I'm picking him to win this one by decision. And the next fight is Drew Dober versus Bobby Green. This is a fun one. This is a good striker versus striker matchup here. I think that there's a very high likelihood that this one pretty much spends all the time striking, even though Dober's attempted 45 takedowns in 19 fights, Green 49 takedowns in 18 fights. These guys don't wrestle much, and I think that they're going to be perfectly happy to stand and bang with each other. It's going to be Dober, who's a little bit younger, but Green's 2 inches taller, and he's got a 1-inch reach advantage. The experience, both these guys are extremely experienced. They've been around. They've fought everybody. Dober, the much better finisher at the UFC level, but Dober's also been finished in more than half of his losses, while Bobby Green's only been finished in 2 of 8 losses, and one of them was by Makhachev. When it comes to the striking, I see Dober being the moment winner, and I see Green being the minute winner. Both of these guys throw a lot more volume than their opponents, but Green's a lot more accurate, and Green's also a lot harder to find. He's just much faster. Drew Dober, he trusts his chin, and when you're trusting your chin, you're usually not a minute winner because you're willing to take 1 or 2 to give one, and that usually means you're more of a moment winner, you're more of a power guy. But Bobby Green has only been knocked down 3 times in 18 fights, and he's only been knocked out twice at the UFC level. And like I said, one of them was on the ground, not on the feet. Green's going to be the better wrestler here. He's going to be the better control time grappler. He's a lot more efficient. As we can see here, Green has attempted 49 takedowns. His opponents have attempted 66. Green's got as many takedowns as his opponents do, but he's got 5% more control time. So he's a lot more efficient. While Dober has got 8 takedowns and his opponents have got 23, but he's attempting almost as many takedowns as his opponents. He's got bad takedown defense. He's also got bad takedown accuracy. So if there's one guy here that would be a lot more likely to win minutes with the grappling, it's Bobby Green. And then in addition to that, a lot more experienced competition for Bobby Green, better ratio, and the wins are better for Bobby Green as well. So I think a decision-only prop for Bobby Green is a great look in this fight because Bobby Green is just plain and simple the better minute winner. Dober could land big shots in a couple of different rounds and be the guy that's doing more damage and could wind up winning on the scorecards, but I think Bobby Green's more likely to win minutes at distance, and I think he's more likely to win minutes with the grappling. And he's faced the better brand of competition here, coming off both these guys coming off some losses to Islam Makhachev, but other than that, these guys are fighting good competition and getting wins against good guys like Nasrat Haqparast and Ali Quinta for Green, and before that, some really good names, while he's losing to, studs like Fiziev and Makhachev, while, Dober's beating Alexander Hernandez and Terrence McKinney and Rafael Alves and losing to guys like Riddell and Makhachev. So I think they're really well matched, but like I said, the minute winning potential here goes with Bobby Green. And because of that, I'm going to have to pick Bobby Green to win by decision. And the next fight is going to be Alex Caceres versus Julian Erosa. Caceres plus 142, Erosa minus 162. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at plus 125. Oh, God. Excuse me, guys. All right. So we got Caceres against Erosa. I like Erosa in this spot. Erosa's a little bit younger. He's 3 inches taller. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage. It's a southpaw versus southpaw matchup. Both of these guys are equally experienced. Erosa 4 more fights, a couple more minutes in the pro cage. Caceres has spent a higher percentage of his career at the UFC level and has got 200 more minutes in the UFC cage, but they've both fought really good competition over the years. Erosa, the better finisher at the UFC level. And while Caceres has been more durable, Caceres is really only getting submitted. He's been knocked out once. At distance, Caceres has been the better minute winner, but Julian Erosa has been a guy that's weaponized his cardio, went forward, trusted his chin, and Caceres isn't really much of a power guy. So when it comes to the grappling, Caceres has got excellent grappling, but he doesn't initiate it. And Erosa doesn't do much of that either, but you see Erosa with 1.73 takedowns per 15 minutes, while for Caceres, it's only 0.58. And even though Caceres gets his takedowns at a 70% clip, he never attempts them. Only 17 in 26 fights, while Erosa is attempting more than 2 takedown attempts per fight, and he's getting more than 1 per fight. So in terms of the stand-up, right, I see Erosa throwing more volume. He's definitely more of a volume guy. Caceres probably throwing a few more kicks, while Erosa will be marching forward and using that pace and that pressure to try to break his opponent. And I love Erosa in round 3. The guy puts on amazing pressure at that point of the fight. And then, you look at the strength of schedule here, better ratio overall, and the much better wins for Julian Erosa, especially in the ratio. So I like Erosa's strength of schedule. I like the pressure and the volume that he puts on. I even think he's more likely to win minutes with the grappling because he's just more likely to go to it. And because of that, I'm picking Erosa to win this one, and I'm going to pick him to win it by decision, everybody. And I have to admit, this next one, I haven't really seen much tape on Alessandro Costa yet, but there's really not much to talk about here. This guy Albazi's really good. He's minus 426. The line's telling you what you need to know. This is the third opponent that Albazi is supposed to have had. So Costa's taking this fight on short notice. He had a fight on the Dana White's Contender Series. It was the week that only Joe Pyfer got the contract, and we heard the B. Joe Pyfer speech from Dana White. Costa, I watched that fight for like 2 rounds, and then I wound up walking away because literally nothing happened. I couldn't believe it was a Contender Series fight. It was pretty shocking to see 2 guys go out there and do nothing in a Contender Series fight. Bantamweights landing less than 50 significant strikes over 15 minutes. So this guy Albazi is really good. I don't see any reason to take a shot on Costa here because it just looks like this is a levels fight. I do see Albazi getting the job done here, by submission in the very first round. But we'll see. I haven't fully looked into that fight. I got to do all the tape on Costa. I heard he's very dangerous on the regional scene. I heard that he knocks dudes out and, finishes fights. But when you get out there on the Contender Series and do nothing for 15 minutes, it's pretty wild. It just makes me believe that you're probably not going to do well here, because if you can't get up for that fight and show some spark in that fight, I don't know how you beat a guy like Amir Albazi, who's just absolutely on fire right now. So, yeah, I'm picking Albazi. I've got to look more into this one. Last show of the year, you guys, it's been a long year. Being a content creator is fucking hard, let me tell you. There's no breaks, you got to be there whether the card is good, bad, or ugly. And, you got to put up with some of the shit that we saw at the end of the last card, the corruption, the bad decisions. units getting stolen from you. And, went to a concert tonight, so I wasn't able to finish up all the research. This is one of the fights that fell by the wayside, but why not that one? I mean, it's not a bettable line. There's really not much we can do with it. There's really not a lot of reason to like Costa. The one UFC level fight that he's had was, I think a split decision. It was a very close fight. So, yeah, Elbazi submission round 1. Next fight, great fight. Damir Ismagulov versus Arman Tsarukyan. Ismagulov plus 159, Tsarukyan minus 184. Fight doesn't go to decision, up at plus 180. So, we've got Tsarukyan younger and a 2-inch reach advantage here, while Ismagulov will be 2 inches taller. The experience, about 110 more minutes in the pro cage for Damir, but it's actually more minutes in the UFC cage for Tsarukyan. Damir had a lot of fights over in Russia before he came here. I believe it was M1. Or maybe it was ACB as well. But, definitely good level of competition against wrestlers, against Russians. Tsarukyan, the better finisher. He's finished 2 of his 5 UFC wins. Ismagulov really hasn't come close to finishing anybody at the UFC level. Tsarukyan has been finished in 1 fight, while Ismagulov has never been finished. While this is at striking range, I think Ismagulov is the better minute winner. He's long, he moves very well, and he takes very few chances, and he's very good defensively. Tsarukyan really does need to get his grappling game going, right? 46% of his fights taking place in control time positions, while it's like 28% for Ismagulov. And Tsarukyan, 33% on his takedowns. He's getting 2.71 per 15 minutes. He's showing 75% takedown defense, but he's fought much better wrestlers than what Ismagulov has fought. And when I look for upside here, I see it on the Tsarukyan side. Damir, the wins don't mean much for me. Alex Gorgees, I don't even know who Alex Gorgees is. Joel Alvarez, Joel didn't get anywhere near Ismagulov because he's so defensively responsible. Thiago Moises, I don't know what to think of that. Rafael Alves almost knocked him out, but then he wound up getting just control time and riding him out there. The Garam fight, I thought he lost that fight. Tsarukyan, the Gamrot fight could have went either way. That was basically a coin flip. But Tsarukyan went out there and destroyed Alvarez. He went out there and he destroyed Yagos. And then he's beating guys like Frivola and Ramos, which I think are tougher stylistic matchups than some of these guys that Ismagulov's fought. I know that I can count on Arman to wrestle and be the better wrestler here. Ismagulov showing great takedown defense, but against who? Nobody that wrestles. So I am leaning Tsarukyan in this spot. The other thing that really bothers me was that 10-pound weight miss less than a year ago by Damir Ismagulov. He has not been active lately, and he just hasn't been impressive, in my opinion. And he's 31 now. Tsarukyan, this is his time, 26 years old. The first fight that he took at the UFC level was against Islam Makhachev. That's how badly he wanted to get in here. So I think that he's fought the better brand of competition here. I think he's the better grappler. I think he's more likely to win minutes in the grappling. And I don't think he's completely out of his depth on the feet, although I think Ismagulov is the minute winner on the feet here. If you're betting Ismagulov, just bet him to win by decision. He's not finishing anybody at this level. And then that way you can get an even better plus money number instead of plus 160. Maybe you get something more like plus 200. Because Ismagulov was keeping it close with an excellent kickboxer like Kuta Delatse on the feet. So, he should be able to handle Tsarukyan there. If it were to be a pure striking match, I think Ismagulov will look a lot better than plus 160. But I'm going to pick Arman Tsarukyan because I think that he's got more ways to win this fight. And I'm going to pick Tsarukyan to win by decision. And we got one more fight to break down. It is the main event. It's Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla. And then we got Sean No IQ Strickland here. Strickland actually said that he would stand and bang with Pereira again. That's bad fight IQ. You know, when you don't admit like what was clearly a mistake, it just shows that, you know, when you're unwilling to learn from your own mistakes, you're not going to learn. But Sean Strickland's much younger. He's taller. He's more experienced. He's the better grappler, and he's fought the better brand of competition, in my opinion. Because Cannonier spent so much time fighting garbage in heavyweight, you know, and then he was fighting in Alaska before that. You know, now obviously the last 5 fights for Cannonier has been a murderer's row. Not so much for Strickland, but still, you know, Allen, Jotko, Uriah Hall, Jack Hermanson, and then the champion Pereira. While Cannonier, I mean, Hermanson, Whitaker, Gastelum, Brunson, Adesanya. So these fights that he's lost were to good kickboxers in Adesanya and Robert Whitaker. And then he's beating guys that have to rely a little bit more on the grappling, like Brunson, like Hermanson, because Cannonier does have good takedown defense, because he makes it very difficult for people to take him down and hold him down. He is going to be able to keep this fight standing. But Strickland, even though he's going to be much better than him on the ground and would probably be a smart way to win some minutes in this fight and stay safe, Strickland's not going to do that. So Strickland's going to stay in his face, though. That's the thing. Cannonier, I think, is at his best when he's able to kick and when his opponents kind of stand in front of him. But Strickland doesn't stand in front of anybody. He walks forward like Michael Myers with a machete. So there's not going to be any grappling in this fight. The strength of schedule numbers look pretty similar. The experience numbers are more for Strickland. Those measurables numbers are more for Strickland. The grappling upside goes to Strickland, but he won't use it. He's not smart enough. So this is going to be a 5-round kickboxing match. And Jared Cannonier is going to be kicking the shit out of Sean Strickland's legs. And Sean Strickland's going to be just in Jared Cannonier's face, pressuring him, throwing more volume. Look at that volume on Strickland. 13.5 significant strike attempts per minute, while Cannonier throws 7.26. And then if you look at the power numbers, not that much better for Cannonier. So very interesting. I really haven't even picked a winner yet in this fight because, you know, I think that the line has it about right. Strickland minus 115, Cannonier minus 105. I guess it just depends on how Cannonier deals with the style of Sean Strickland, but I think that Strickland is going to probably win the minutes of this fight. And he's very, very durable. And Jared Cannonier doesn't have one-punch knockout power anyway. So I think I'm going to pick Sean Strickland to win this fight by decision. And that got us through, you guys. That's all of this week's fights. We've broken down all 14 of them. We've got 70 of you still hanging out. I can't believe it, man. That's awesome. It's 12:55 a.m. Chicago time right now. So we've got to get this over with. I don't think I put a banner together for my track bets this week. So you're just going to have to listen to that. I've only got 3. 1 unit on the Cody Brundage money line at plus 230. There's a path for him here. If he wrestles, if it's an up and down wrestling match and that he mixes in his striking to set up his wrestling, if he enters on his wrestling and then that doesn't work, but then he uses his striking once he abandons the wrestling. And I think if he gets Michal down and doesn't make this a kickboxing match, makes it a mixed martial arts fight, I think he looks way better than plus 230 and has a good chance to win this fight. I also have a 1 unit bet on Bryan Battles money line at plus 150 against Fakhretdinov. I think he stops the takedowns. I think he's way more likely to win minutes on the feet here. I think he's a lot more athletic. And I think he's got a very sneaky submission game that's going to make it difficult for Rinat to just sloppily shoot in on takedowns. So, and then the other one that I have is the Matthews Semelsberger fight doesn't go to decision at plus 150 on the prop template. Now that line is moved, but for the fight doesn't go at plus 150, you could see here At that number, we were getting an 8.67% break over the divisional benchmark, which is 48.67% of fights not going to decision. These guys' fights finish inside the distance at the UFC level 54.55% of the time. We're only paying 40, so that's a 14% break. And these guys finish fights at a 5.88% rate higher than what the division does. So that was a trifecta bet. It was just severely underpriced. And stylistically, I think Matthews and Semelsberger are going to stand in front of each other and bang. Both of them got power. Both of them have really good boxing. Both of them are explosive. So I could see somebody getting knocked out there. And plus, Jake Matthews has been finished in 4 of his 5 pro losses. Semelsberger, 2 of 4. So 2/3 of these guys' losses have been inside the distance, just like 2/3 of their wins have been inside the distance as pros. So I think that that's an underpriced line, but unfortunately that's moved. It's more like plus 115 now, but even there, it's still a small trifecta bet, still a little bit underpriced. So those are the 3 bets that I have. Cody Brundage money line, Bryan Battle money line, and then the Matthews-Semelsberger fight doesn't go to decision. All 3 of them sitting at nice, fat, plus money numbers. So that brings us to the last order of business, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, the very last one of the year. And I promised you a while back that I was no longer going to pick women to shave ass because they're so inconsistent. But I went through this card, and you guys, the one common denominator was with this card was I'm just finding these paths of victories for the underdogs. So I'm not feeling safe about a lot of these favorites here. So I have to find you something. I have to go a little bit off the reservation to find you an ass shaving this week. Because last week I didn't like the favorites. And a lot of them did cover, but I found you the one underdog that did cover, that actually cashed the bet. But, because 2 underdogs won. Jared Gordon won and Chris Curtis won. But Chris Curtis was the only one who was awarded the victory. So, but I called both of them. I had the bet on Gordon and I had the bet on Curtis. So I didn't like any underdogs here. I didn't like the ass shaving taking place in any of the men's fights. So, dude, it's going to be Cheyanne Vlismas over Cory McKenna as the ass shaving of the week. I do see a path here for McKenna. She could get takedowns. She could hold down Cheyanne like Montserrat Ruiz did. But I think that Cheyenne's get-up game is a lot better when she's not getting head and arm throwed. And because of that, I think that this fight stays on the feet. And while it's on the feet, I think she might even knock out Cory McKenna because she's much more powerful, much more explosive, much more mean, much more clean on the feet. So let me edit this, get this up there on the screen. It's going to be Cheyanne Vlismas to shave the ass of Cory McKenna. And the other thing about that, you guys, is when your only path to victory is grappling, but you've went out there against a pure striker and then forgotten to grapple, boy, it's really hard to trust Cory McKenna in this spot because she showed such piss poor fight IQ in the Elise Reed fight. And if she doesn't try to take down Cheyanne Vlismas like she didn't try to take down Elise Reed, this is going to be probably a quick night, and I think Cheyenne's probably going to knock her fucking block off. But we did it, you guys. Not only did we break down all 14 fights on the UFC Vegas 66 card, not only did we give you all my track bets, not only did we give you Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, but we've done it for every card in this year in the UFC. We haven't missed 1 week. I've been here for you guys every week, giving you the stats, giving you my reads. A good up year of bets for me, a nice 15% return on investment. I'm up almost 40 units on the year, and I appreciate you guys riding along with me, betting along with me, cashing some greasy four-leggers, shaving some ass, making some money off those bookies, and I can't wait to do it again with you guys in 2023. War Cheyanne Vlismas. We're going to finish the year with a female ass shaving of the week. And hopefully we're going to finish the year by putting another flapjack on the stack of this winning streak that I've been on here for like the last 4 weeks. Thank you guys for hanging out. God bless each and every one of you. Keep an eye out tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time, for Ask Weezy right here on Uncle Weezy's channel, for the Cody Brundage interview on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, and I'll also be going live 6 o'clock Central Time for the last DFS show of the week with Brady, with Monk, and with Gordo. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Busy day for me tomorrow. And let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 66. We did it. 2022 in the rearview mirror. Let's get ready for 2023, everybody. Thanks for rolling with me. Good night.